In this experiment, we are going to see if there is a difference between rooting semi-hardwood cuttings with an inorganic root hormone. This is going to be an indole 3-butyric acid, the Bontone 2. An organic rooting compound. This is sold as earth juice, root stock, and it looks like it's got water-soluble nitrogen and potash, and it's derived from kelp and soybean meals and sulfate of potash. So this is a product that's put out by Hydro Organics, and so we're going to use that as our synthetic, our organic rooting hormone, and then we're going to do a control where we're only giving them water, so they're not actually getting anything else. We're going to pick a fruiting tree and a flowering tree for this. For our fruiting tree, we are going to use the myrobalan plum. So the myrobalan plum makes a fantastic rootstock for a lot of plums. And when we do this, we just want to make sure that we have a couple of nodes down and a couple of nodes up. We really only want one little thing of leaves on here. And so we're going to do a lot of stripping on these plants. So we've got a lot of material here. We can measure by the height of our pot and use that as our general rule of thumb. We're only going to be able to go down so far, and so we only want maybe not even twice as much, or twice as much is probably good. It turns out that this is probably about the same as the wingspan, I guess I would call it that, between my pinky and my thumb on here. So I'm going to use that as kind of a guide. We'll cut off this inner node that I left hanging out from the tree, and then measure, and then clip. And then the cool thing about these hardwood cuttings is that you can strip these leaves off really easily, and you're going to give it a little bit of tearing on here. The tearing is okay when you're working with semi-hardwood and hardwood cuttings because underneath the bark layer of these plants there are cells that could also have new jobs. And so sometimes they'll call this like you're wounding it essentially. You're giving it a little bit of damage here, and so you're giving it potential to root from these locations as well as the nodes. So here's our first cutting, and I'm just going to kind of dip this in my rooting hormone. And then when I stick these, I'm going to do this in like the same kind of pattern that you would see on the 5 on a dice, on a die. Okay, so I put 5 little holes in there, and I'm going to put 1 in each of those 5, and I'll do 4 pots of that, and that will give me my 20 cuttings. Let's do another one. So we'll cut off that node on the bottom, we'll check the wingspan, figure out where to clip, and then strip everything off of it that we don't want. There we go. See, that goes a lot faster than having to clip off all those individuals, right? And then we dibble, and then we stick. Okay, so that's it for the plum. We're going to continue on and do the same thing with the earth juice, and we're not going to put anything on it at all for the control. That's just going to get watered. The Rose of Sharon is going to be very similar. So the Rose of Sharon looks kind of like this. It's a small tree as well, probably to, you'll find it out in the Google, right? But I think it goes to 20 feet maybe. We'll check our wingspan on that. It looks like I could go to here for this node. And then we can strip all of these pieces below there. We'll just come right off. And now I can dibble here and stick here. Using your finger for pre-drilling the hole in this plant for these two is a good idea because these stems are a little bit bigger in diameter, so you want something that's going to be a little bit more comparable to the hole size that the stem is. So your fingers work just fine for that. There we go. Strip all of those off. All right. And we dibble and stick. All right. So I'm going to carry on and do the rest of these, and I'll be back with you in a minute. All right. Well, boy, I made that far away from myself. Okay, so now we have finished the first set of cuttings over here that we were going to do. Actually, it looks like I missed a pot. Oops. Okay, I'll go back and I'll do that one. But next I wanted to show you the earth juice. So this we've been working with has been a powdered form, And it's put in there with some talcum powder, and that's most of the white stuff that you see in there. 99% of that is talcum powder. The earth juice, on the other hand, is a liquid, and so already we're coming up with this kind of confounding variable because we put a powder on these plants, which has a slight drying effect at the root base, and now we're putting a gel on these. So whenever we figure this out in the end of which ones rooted and which ones didn't, we may have to take into consideration the fact that one was a powder and the other one was a liquid. Okay, so I think I got everything I need now. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do another cutting on this for you guys. So here we go. We've got our plum stick. It's about the distance we want. We're going to strip off all those pieces, and then we're going to dip it in this earth juice, which is just, it's very liquidy. It really doesn't smell good, guys. Like, if you could smell this, you'd be like, oh, that's disgusting. And then we are going to just kind of, let's do it on this one so you can see it. Dibble that hole and put that piece in there. And I'm going to carry on and do this for the rest of them, and then last I'll do it for the control. We'll stick them on bottom heat and mist, and we will again check these in a couple of weeks to see what our rooting success is, and then we'll do some calculations on it and figure out whether we want to use organic, synthetic, or no rooting hormone for these two particular plants. Now, you may want to check some reference material depending on what plant you're trying to propagate, because some of them just don't need rooting hormone as much as others. A really great resource for you to check is going to be in the back of your Hartman and Kester plant propagation textbook. That textbook is a hugely valuable resource, and in the back of it gives you pretty much every way that you would want to propagate a lot of really commercially important plants in general. So herbaceous, softwood, hardwood, it'll tell you whether it propagates better by seed, if your seeds need special treatments, and if you need special treatments or cold stratification for a lot of your hardwood cuttings too. All right.